Hey, thanks for checking out Nuts and Bolts with Tone, and welcome to my channel. Today we have a 2016 3-liter Sprinter. This thing is leaking fuel from the high-pressure fuel pump. So I am going to show you how to replace this high-pressure fuel pump in this video. Before we do that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell. You get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Let's go check it out. Okay, first step for doing this high pressure fuel pump is disconnecting this upper radiator hose from the radiator, because we got to get the fan clutch and the fan shroud out. Now it's easy to you could just disconnect it from the radiator and take out the Torx right there and pull the hose back and get it out of the way. You can use a bungee to hold it out of the way. And there's the high pressure fuel pump we're going to be going after. Okay, first step is going to be to remove this top cover here. You just pop these little clips and this cover comes out. Then you're going to disconnect the degas bottle from the radiator. You're going to come to the other side and take your upper radiator hose off. And then we got to get the fan shroud out. Now the fan shroud has a clip on both sides that clips down on top of the fan shroud. The radiator has a clip. You have to push that clip in and lift up on the fan shroud. I'm going to get a screwdriver and show you. Okay, so you take a screwdriver and you push that clip in, and while that clip is pushed in, you lift up on the radiator. Lift up on the fan shroud. Once you do that, you go to the other side and the fan shroud pops up. You can move it forward and we can get to the fan clutch. Okay, I got a little excited. I've been so used to having 4-cylinder Sprinters where the fan clutch has the 8mm bolt going through the center, that this one actually has a fan clutch nut behind it. So we got to disconnect the connector. You got to lift up on that little gray tab, take a pick, lift it up, push in on the connector, and we have to take those two E10s out. The left one there is just a rubber hose keeping the fan clutch in place in the right position, and the other one holds the electrical connector. 8mm wrench works also. All right, to get the fan clutch out, you're going to need to remove it. This one actually has the fan clutch is a nut, a 36mm. Some of them have a bolt in the front that's a 8mm. So what I use is a pneumatic set like this, and I have a 36mm. Now this is left-hand threads, so you're going to turn it towards the driver's side to break it loose. So it's the opposite of normal rotation. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew that and get this fan clutch out of here and the fan shroud. All right, you're going to go ahead and loosen this line right here. To put it back in, you can just lift it up, so we don't need to mess with anything over here. You can lift that up. You're going to have a connector right here for the sensor, and then you're going to have your regulator on the pump. And here's what it looks like here. You got a gray clip, okay, and that goes underneath. So we're going to disconnect those. We're going to take this off. And the next thing we need to do is we need to get, hang on, let me take this clip off. Okay. All right, so now we need to loosen up these hose clamps here. And so we have these pliers right here, okay? And they have, this is the Ossenmacher ones. These are angled. And these ends here rotate, so you can put them in any position. These are what I recommend. These are about 80 bucks, I think, 80 or 90 bucks, but they're worth it if you even work on just a couple of these. Also real beneficial when you do the fuel filters, which you're going to do those a lot more. These also work for Fiats, hose clamps on Fiats, and power steering lines on BMWs, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and take these hose clamps off with this. And then we're going to get ready to unbolt the pump. All right, to get these hose clamps off, you're going to see on one side you have this little dimple here. All right, what you're going to do is you're going to set up your pliers. So the end with the notch is where that dimple is, because it needs to go underneath. So you're going to set it up like this. And you're going to give it a quick snap, and you'll hear the hose clamp click. Then to put it back on, you're going to go the opposite way. So on the side with this dimple right here, you're going to be using the flat side because you don't want it to go underneath. And once again, you'll hear it click. That's how you take them off. So all I did was I clicked off both of the lines. I was able to grab it with a pair of pliers and just give it a little easy squeeze, a little twist, and they broke free. Now there is no high pressure fuel here, so you don't have anything to worry about there. And then now we're gonna I'm gonna use my carbine tools. I believe this is an E10. And you can see here we have 3 bolts. 1, 2, and 3. We're gonna go ahead and unbolt those and pull it straight out. Okay, so here we are, pump's out. Now I gotta transfer the gear to the pump here. Now there is a keyway on here, so the gear is only gonna go on one way. And then we're gonna lube this O-ring and put it back in. All right. All right, the nut is a 21 millimeter, and all I did was put a pair of vice grips around the outside here and one little quick zap of the gun, and it came off. And so here's how I got the gear off. I used this little puller to pop the gear off, and then now I'm gonna transfer, it's got the cotter pin, the keyway, and I'm gonna transfer the gear to the new one and zap it down. Before I forget to tell you, the other thing I did was I referenced the gear here, and I marked it to the bolt hole going straight up. And so I marked the new pump here. And so once I zap this down, I'm gonna turn this gear to where it's aimed here, because that's where the gear needs to be. So just make a reference mark and put it back in. Okay, so once you get your pump in, go ahead and move all your lines out of the way. Make sure your connectors are out of the way, all right? And you're gonna go ahead and torque those 3 bolts to 14 Newton meters or 130 inch-pounds. I'm gonna torque them now. We're gonna put all these fuel lines back on. We're gonna put this back together in the reverse order. Just a little tip, this fuel line is easier to get the line on when you have this disconnected so it's loose, and you have a little more room to get down there to that one there. Okay, so now that we got the pump in, you're gonna go ahead and clean everything up, and you're gonna put your fan shroud back in. Remember, you're gonna turn it to the left to tighten it. And this is a self-bleeding system, so when you turn the key, it'll pump fuel, and it will start and run. You won't have any problem. The only way you'll have a problem is if you have a leak at one of these fuel lines. Now, there are 2 different types of high-pressure pumps. There's another kind that doesn't have a gear, and there's also, like I said before, the fan clutch. There's also another style where it has a bolt that goes through the center, and that is an 8 millimeter bolt. And you would pull the fan shroud towards the engine, and you would come between the radiator and the fan shroud and break it loose. And that's how you get that style out. So you should feel comfortable replacing this high-pressure fuel pump now, given the fact I've shown you how to do it. Even if you're a gasoline mechanic, should be pretty simple. The only thing that's a little bit tricky is the fuel lines. If you don't have the right pliers, you do not want to put worm drive clamps on this. So you really want to put these clamps back. These are the best clamps. And I always draw a line with a paint marker so I know it goes back exactly where it was. Most of the time on any sort of hoses, radiator hoses, fuel hoses, it doesn't matter, power steering even, when you move the hose clamp and it doesn't clamp in the same spot, that's when the hose leaks. It took me a long time to learn that. I would put clamps on, they would leak, and then I would put worm drive clamps, and it was just a long battle. So you want to put these back exactly where they go. I do this on the fuel filter, I do it on the high pressure fuel pump. I do it all the time. I do it on radiator hoses. It doesn't matter. I put a line. Anybody knows if I worked on a car because you can see lines on the hoses. But those hoses don't leak when I'm done. So, thanks for watching the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell you get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Also, check me out on Instagram at Nuts and Bolts with Tone for my daily life as a mechanic, where I'll show you all kinds of cool stuff, show you tools, show you stuff I'm working on from a day-to-day basis. Check out my merchandise store where you can get a t-shirt or a coffee cup and support the channel. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you next time.